says that Jack and Jill have an argument about what earns more money, simple or compound interest. They each put $2,000 into the bank at 5% interest. Okay, at 5% interest. And they're looking at how much, who had more money after 10 years and by how much. Okay, so I'm using my equation editor. And what color is my font supposed to be? What color am I supposed to use for my blue or red? So I'm going to go pick, I want to put red on my list. So if red is not on your list when you go like this, you go down to this palette and you pick it to put it on its list. I'm choosing red today. I just put an equation box. Okay. Now we're using our simple interest and our compound interest that we did yesterday. So our formula yesterday, remember, was the total amount accumulated is equal to, let me make this a little bigger. Oh, much better. The total amount accumulated is equal to the principal times the quantity of 1 plus the rate times the time, right? That was simple interest, right? They are arguing between simple interest and compound interest. So we're going to be doing simple interest and compound interest. Okay, compound interest equation. Don't like where that landed. Well, that's what it is. Compound interest equation went accumulated equals the principal times 1 plus the rate divided by the number of periods in a year. You have to arrow to get off it. To the, still do the up arrow, time. Okay. Those were our two formulas from yesterday. So the first thing we have to identify is, what are the numbers? What is my principal number? What is the principal number? For this problem? What's the number for the principal for this problem? $2,000. Okay. What is the rate number, which is the interest as a decimal for this problem? So how do we write that percent as a decimal? 0.05, because we jumped twice. What is our time for this problem? 10. And with compounded, we also need to know the n. So what is the number of times we're being paid our interest in a year? What are they saying in the story? How often are they paying it to us? How often? Right? That's our N. There's our R. Here's our P. Here's our T. So what am I going to say for N? How often are they giving us the money each year? What does that word mean? How many times in a year? Annually means how many times in a year? Once. So that's a 1. Okay, so we're going to go put our stuff in each of the equations. So all I did was I went back to my equation box. I'm going to hit maybe. Or I hit a new equation box. Okay. That my accumulated is equal to 2,000 times 1 plus 0.05 times, oops, times is my little symbol right here, times 10, right? Okay, so let me see if it lets us do it. Enter. Nope, got to put a new equation box. Okay. So the first thing we got to figure out is what is the 0.05 times 10? Okay. What is the 0.05 times 10? No. If I take 0.05 and I divide it by 10, I don't get 0.5. .05 times 10. Is that 50 cents? Is that what you're trying to say, Ethan? Okay. Sorry. Having to read the screen. Okay. We get to go on. We get to do our next box. Okay. That my accumulated equals, not plus, equals 2,000 times 1.5. And if we do 2,000 times 1.5 on the calculator, what do we get? How much money? How much do we get? 2,000 times 1.5. 3,000. Okay. Now, it doesn't let you put the dollar sign because in the equation writer, just like in the test, it doesn't read the dollar signs. The dollar sign will go in your answer. Okay, we're going to go figure out the other one now. Our accumulated is equal to our 2,000 principal times 1 plus 0.05 divided by 1. Remember, I'm just putting everything in that I know I'm supposed to have from my numbers. Okay, I put everything into the formula and then I go start solving stuff. Okay, first thing I know, I can combine that 1 plus the 0.05 because dividing by 1 doesn't change anything. So 2,000, 1.05 to the 10th. Now I'm getting that to that exponent by hitting that up arrow thing we were using yesterday. The calculator automatically knows that means exponent. Okay. All right. So what part of this do we have to solve first? What part of this do I have to solve first? According to the rules.
How did you do that exponent again?
Okay, you know above the number 6, there's that little up arrow thing. It's called a caret. That's it. That's what makes it an exponent.
It just shows it for me. But it shows it.
Are you in the equation writer?
I'm on the. What do you mean?
In Cami, off on the side, one of the
choices. Oh no, I'm on the text box.
That's why. So you could fix it by switching over to a equation writer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then it won't show that anymore. It'll make it into an exponent like it should be. That's why we're doing the exponents, right? Okay, good question though. You know, we're still getting used to the technology stuff. So some people have noticed I'm moving my stuff. See, I go find the little X and I can move it around. All right, so what piece of this formula do I have to do first? What piece of the formula do I have to do first? According to our rules of operation, PEMDAS, which piece of this am I going to do first on my calculator? Let me switch over my calculator. The exponents. Let me switch over my calculator. So I have to do 1.05, right? And remember, this X to the Y button is the to the. See, it shows a little caret thing in the history. To the 10th power. I'm leaving that in there, and I'm multiplying by 2,000. Okay. Now, this is money. Do the instructions say that we're rounding any particular way? Does it say we're rounding to the nearest whole? Does it say we're doing any of that? Does it talk about rounding anywhere? No. So when it doesn't talk about rounding anywhere and we're working with money, what do we need to do? How many decimal places will our answer have? 2. So we need to round this. So it's 2 decimals. So what would the answer to this be rounded with 2 decimals? What would this be rounded to 2? Do the whole number, not just the decimals. What would this answer be rounded to the 2 decimals? What would you be typing in for the test? Yes. Okay. Let me switch back. So my text box, my accumulation is equal to 3257.79, right? Okay, so now we look at what did they ask us. We got calculations done. Now we look at what did they ask us. What was the ultimate question they wanted to know? What were they asking us for? This is the critical reading moment. Look at the part with the question mark. That tells us what they ultimately want to know. Ultimately, what do they want to know? Okay, so who has more money after 10 years? Anything else? You can, but don't do that in the test. Okay, in the long run, don't do the 2 things in the test. Just put the final answer around it. Okay, so who had more and how much more? So it says that Jack got compounded interest and Jill got simple interest. So simple interest is Jill, right? Compound interest is Jack. That's what the story tells me. Who got more money after 10 years and who got more money after 10 years? Formulating our sentence answer. Who got more money after 10 years? So Jack got more money after 10 years with compounded interest. Now we have to go figure out how much. So I'm going to get my equation and I'm going to go solve how much more. Okay. And to solve how much more, you just compound minus simple. So 3257.79 minus 3,000 equals how much? Yes, I know you can do this in your head, but we're practicing how to set up for the test because you get graded for your work on the test. So I think this is 257.79, right? So Jack got more money after 10 years with compounded interest. He got 257. On the work document for the test is where you put the sentence answer, and yes, you use the dollar sign and all that. More interest than Joe. Nope. He had $257 more. Had, not half, had 257 more in his account. In his account than Joe. Right? Does that make sense? So that should ramp up our thinking about the simple interest versus the compound interest. The more money, the longer. So if you're investing more or you're investing for longer, it's going to make a bigger difference than short time periods and small amounts. I mean, these were the same exact interest, same exact year, same exact money, but he's making $257 more because after the first year, they put the interest in and it sits there for a year. After the next year, they put the interest in and it adds to, and it sits there. They keep adding to. Compounded keeps adding to. Okay. So now we're going to look at Lauren wants to double her money in 7 years. Use the rule of 72. How much return does she need on her investment? This was part of your reading you were supposed to have gotten done, the rule of 72. The rule of 72. I don't want that. I want the 6 bucks. The rule of 72 does this. To find return needed, okay, divide 72 by the number of years. Okay, that's how the rule of 72 works. So we're going to go get our equation thing. And we're going to take 72 and divide it by 7. Okay, 72 divided by 7. Okay, and on the calculator, what do we get? List 4 decimal places. So tell me the 4 decimal places that we would get. So let me go get my calculator. 72 divided by 7. I need, this is percentage you need, okay? And we're always going to 2 decimal places in our percentages. Okay. This will get you the percent you need return. Okay, so I want 2 decimal places. What would my answer be? I want 2 decimal places, so what would my answer be? Because it's a percent. Okay, switching back. this would get me 10.29. And then we just formulate our sentence. Lauren would need to get 10.29% return on her investment to double it in 7 years. So that was an easy, kind of straightforward one. Okay. So that was the rule of 72 to find the return needed. You divide 72 by the number of years. Now, to find the number of years, we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to be dividing by the interest rate this time. So the rule of 72. To find the number of years, divide 72 by the interest number, not as a decimal, the actual interest number, and always round up. Okay, always round up. So we're getting our equation editor. We're doing 72 divided by. Now, how can we write 7.5 so we don't have a fraction inside a fraction? Because we don't want to have a fraction inside a fraction. That's ugly. So how can I rewrite 7.5 so it's not a fraction anymore? How can we rewrite 7.5 so it's not a fraction anymore? Make it a decimal, but not an interest rate decimal. So turn 7.5 into no half. It needs to have its decimal version of half. Yes, 7.5. Okay, equals. So we're not turning it into a, I have to make sure I arrow off so the equals goes up. We're not turning it into the decimal version of the percent, not like with compound and stuff like that. We're not turning it to the decimal version of the percent. We're getting rid of the half. Okay, we're making it so it's just a number. Okay, calculator. Now, remember what we said, 72 divided by the number that the percent is, always round up. Always round up. So what is this going to round up to? You want to always round up to the whole number. So what's this going to round to? What does 9.6 round to as a whole number? Because we're on our calculator and we see 9.6 is what? 75 divided by 0.5, 7.5. Okay, so 10. So you always round up to the whole number. Okay, let me go ahead and move my equation guy out from under. So we're always rounding up to the whole number for this. Because if I stayed at 9.6, banks don't pay us like that. Okay, banks don't pay us like that. They pay us, you know, he's doing a percent return, which means for a whole year at a time. So we can't have a part of a year. Okay. If it had said monthly return, then we would have been able to use a decimal because months are parts of a year. But they didn't tell us that. So we have to go rounding to the nearest whole number. So who are we talking about? Who are we talking about? And what are we talking about for him? So Daniel, what does Daniel need to do? What does Daniel need to do? So look at what's attached. What is Daniel doing with his money? It's asking for what? What are they asking us to solve for? How long? Daniel will need how long? What did we decide this 10 is? 10 years to double his investment at 7.5%. Yes, rewrite it as a decimal. Okay. All right. Okay, so now we're looking at this birthday money again and college fund again, but we're looking at it from a different point of view. We are looking at this is how much money you want in the account when you're turning 18. How much do I need to put in the account to start? So we're looking at it from the other point of view. Yesterday we had the college money one, but we knew how much money the grandma and grandpa were putting in the account. Now we don't know how much they need to start the account with. We know how much we want to end the account with. Okay. We know how much we want to end the account with. And with that in mind, we need to use the present value of money to future value of money rule. So present value to future value, that's capital F. Rule. Okay. That goes like this. My equation for that is that the present value equals the future value divided by 1 plus my interest rate as a decimal to the number of periods, to our time. Okay. So my present value, which means how much I need to put in now, is equal to what I want to have divided by 1 plus the decimal version of the rate to the time that you want to have. So we've got to label our variables. Okay. Do we know the present value? Do we know how much we need to start the account with? Because present value equals the account start. Do we know the account start? No. Do we know the future value that we want to have? What is it? The 20,000. Yes. Do we know the rate that we're going to earn money at? As a decimal, what would we do? .06. And then what's our time limit? What's our time limit? How long do they have for this to stay in the account? No. Read the whole story. Yes, only 5 years, because for your 13th birthday and to use when you turn 18. So that was the 18 years minus the 13 years. 5 years is what we have available. Okay, so go get our equation. Our present value is equal to our 20,000 divided by 1 plus 0.0, that's an 0.06. Arrow off and put the parentheses. Inside, you go after the parentheses to the 5 years. Okay. Now, if I knew the present value and I was trying to figure out the future value, could I still use this formula? If I knew the present value and I was trying to figure out the future value, could I still use the formula? Yes. It just would have the variable on top of the fraction, right? And that is actually the formula we used yesterday. Okay. Because present value is the same thing as saying A. Okay. Present value is the same thing as saying our principal. And future value is the same thing as saying our accumulated. Okay. Now let's go get the calculator and get this thing figured out. Let me switch here. All right. So we have some restrictions in our calculator, okay, that we have to tell it where we want things to happen. Okay. I am not going to figure out how much all of these things are as little bits and pieces. What I do need to know, though, let me put this back for a second, is that my present value is going to be equal to my future value, which is 20,000, right? Divided by 1.06 to the 5th power, okay? Because we simplified the bottom. Okay, so now let's go get the calculator. The 1.06 to the 5th power is not something that's easy and pretty, okay? So we're just going to do quit. We're not going to worry about finding the pieces. We're going to put it all in like we see it. So that's 20,000 divided by, and then I'm going to put the parentheses, 1.06, close the parentheses and use the button to the 5th. Okay. So I put the 20,000 in, I hit the divide button, I hit the parentheses button, put my decimal in for my interest, close it, I use my power button and I say 5, and then I hit enter and I'm rounding. Did the problem say to round in any particular way? Did the problem say that you had to round it any particular way? The problem said to round it to the nearest whole. The problem said to round it. What did the problem say to round it to? So if the problem doesn't say to round it to any specific way, what do we round it to? If the problem doesn't tell us specifically to round it to something, what are we automatically rounding to? Yes, we have to do rounding because we can't have this funky decimal. Oh, to money, and money is 2 decimals. So what would we round this to? This is money. We need 2 decimals left. What would we type in the answer to the problem on the test? Okay, let me stop. Let me switch over. So the answer to the problem, our present value, is equal to $14,945.16. Okay, we leave it like that. We don't put commas, we don't put dollar signs, we don't do anything like that. Those all come in our sentence answer. Okay, those all come with our sentence answer. Who are we talking about? Who's the who? Look carefully at the part that has a question mark on it. Who are we talking about? Who's got to do something? Whose parents? My parents. So my parents, nice, need to put, and then we put our dollar sign, $14,945.16 into the account for my college to start. So to start on my 13th, not 14th, 13th birthday. So I have $20,000 when I turn 18 for college. Okay, you told the who, you told them the situation. The whole point of the sentence answer is so someone can pick it up and know what was going on. They don't have to know any of the details of the problem. It's all there for them to see. Okay, so that's the kind of sentence answers I'm expecting, the details, so that the person understands what was going on right away. Questions about process? You have questions 5, 6, 7, 8 that are like this, but they've given you new numbers again, just like yesterday. But there's also a project that's due today. So I need to go over and talk about that project, but I want to make sure, does everybody understand the process? Any questions about the process? Now remember, your test is on Monday. For the test, you can use physical notes. So do not leave yourself without the ability to use your notes because you leave them electronic. Okay. All right, since there's no questions about that, we are going to talk about your home, you're working on that. Not yet though. Okay. So wait a moment. Let me switch over. Let me save this for the first part. Save. Oh, Tuesday. Sorry, Tuesday. The next school day after Friday. How about that? The next school day after Friday. Yes, there's no school on Monday, so it's going to be Tuesday. Your project hasn't released yet. I'm going to release it. And we're going to talk about what you're doing. No, this assignment's due at 3 o'clock. This project is due. Tonight is 11:59. The Tuesday is when the test is. Okay, so this is your project. This is what you have to do for your project that you're doing today. Remember, projects are worth like 40% of your grade, I think is what Mr. B made the projects with. Let me go see again. Projects, 40% of your grade. So if you don't get the projects done, you're giving away almost half of your score. Don't recommend it. Don't recommend it at all. All right, so for your project, let me view so it's bigger. Nope, not what I was trying for. Right idea, wrong one. You have at the bottom 3 things attached already. It says part 1, read one of the linked articles below, either what is a will and why do I need one, or 10 things you need to know about a will. Either one, doesn't matter which one, both are down here. And you're going to write 1 paragraph summary of the article. Be sure to name the article in your paragraph, like 10 things you should know about writing a will is about, or in what is a will and why do you need one, they discussed. Okay, be specific. It has to show up in the paragraph, not as a title. Okay, detailed sentences, no text speak, 25% off if you don't follow the grammar and capitalization and text speak rule. Okay. Then the second piece, in the same Google document, you're just going to start a new page in it. You're going to then write a will. Okay. Down at the bottom, there is an activity, a thing down here called how to write my own will, and it's got 7 steps that it mentions in it. Okay, you are going to use those steps and the format that's on the PDF page 317 of our book to write a will for yourself. The will is based on you in the future. You could be 30, you could be 60, you get to be any age you want as long as it's over the age of 21. Okay. When you're writing your will, do not include your real address and just put this numbers thing for your Social Security. You're going to make up a fake person that's doing the witness. If you copy and paste instead of typing it for yourself, you will lose credit. I can tell the difference. You are to write your own will using the other format as a template to help you with what you need to write, not replacing writing it for yourself. Okay, you are writing the will. Okay, so you need to type it for yourself. Have the book open so you can be knowing what to type, obviously. Okay, once you're done, you're going to make sure you turn it in so you can get credit. It's due before 11:59 tonight. So finishing up the notes is due before 3. Okay, so that gives you about 45 more minutes. And this writing the will, you have until just before midnight. Okay, those are the 2 things due today. Are there any questions about what you need to be doing?